Hello, class. I wanted to put together a video that goes over the last significant piece of syntax we'll be going over in CS 151 in Python, and that's related to dictionaries. Now, up to this point, you've been using the list as one of the data structures in order to keep track of a collection of items. And what we're going to be going over in the next lab activity and programming assignment is the use of something referred to as a dictionary. So I thought I would put together, actually I'm going to break this concept up into two videos. The last video probably went way too long, an hour, 28 minutes. So I'm going to break this up into two videos related to dictionaries. And what they relate to is, the first one is going to be the basic concepts of the dictionary, what it is, what it looks like, what the syntax would look like in order to create a dictionary. And I'm also going to create functions that are going to be used to pull data in from a list. And much of the syntax for the list component, for the data file component, opening up a data file and extracting the data from a data file, you've already done. You've done it for at least two lab activities, so you should be pretty strong with that concept. So we're gonna merge that information with what is now considered to be the dictionary. And I wanted to start off by talking just generally about what a dictionary is. So as with many of the things that are in Python, if you connect what the new concept is to something you know already, it should make the process a little bit easier. So what you see on the screen is what we're going to be working towards. But before we get into that, let me just talk about what a dictionary is. To your best recollection, I would suspect that at least you have at least one dictionary in your home or office. Now, I'm not talking about an online dictionary. I'm talking about the traditional bound book that has a lot of pages. It's one of probably the thickest books besides the Bible in your home, if you have a Bible. The dictionary is, as the name suggests, in a dictionary of a collection of words. Now, the difference, specifically what a dictionary has, is unique words. All right, so it's a collection of unique words. So in a dictionary, you have an index of words, and then there is a definition of each of those words. Okay. Now, in Python, the dictionary concept is the same, but the reference is a little bit different. So as a dictionary has an index of words, and there's a definition associated with each of those words, in Python, the word that we're referring to in the dictionary is referred to as a key. And each key, which is unique, has a specific defined value. Now, you can change the values, and we'll talk about that in another video. But I want you to try to maintain a visual perspective of the traditional book dictionary, where you open the book and you have a collection of words. They're categorized in the book. They're categorized for ease of use by the first letter of the word. But in a dictionary in Python, they really don't have to be, or there's really no ordering in the dictionary for Python. But so the mapping would be a word and its definition, and in Python, the dictionary is a key and its value. Okay. Now, the values in a dictionary aren't numbered. In a dictionary, what you have is an index of words, and each of them has a definition, but the values in a dictionary aren't numbered. All right, so we're going to see how we can modify the values in a dictionary. We can add values to a dictionary. We can replace values in a dictionary. But so we have a general concept of what the dictionary is. And what dictionaries are used for, if you had to say, well, which one do I pick? A list? Do I pick a dictionary? A dictionary is good when you have a unique set of keys that map to values. And that's very important. You have to have a set of unique keys and their associated values. All right. So with that general concept in mind, let me show you what we're going to be working on in this particular demonstration. I do professional photography, and what I have is a collection of cameras, and the cameras are typically associated with two specific characteristics, right? The camera brand and the camera model. Every brand, every camera, or every item itself may have its own brand and model. The Kenmore D700, the Dell Latitude D630. All right. So in my inventory of cameras, there is a brand for each camera and a model for each camera. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to create a working example. So what I did was I found an inventory, I found a data source that had a collection of all these different cameras in terms of brand and model. And that's all they had. The data source, which was a file, had all the brands and all the models of the cameras made from 1992 to the current. I found another database that actually had information related to model and price. And what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to find a connection between the brand and the price. And if you'll notice in the first block of information here, we talk about the camera data is available in two forms. I have the brand and model, and then I have the model and the price. So you notice that there's a similarity here. There's a connection here between the models. All right, and so we're going to use that connection in our Python code, and we'll see how we'll do that. The first thing that we're going to do in our demonstration is I'm going to show you how to create a dictionary using a data file and looking at the red section of the information on the screen. We're going to create two dictionaries, right? We're going to create a dictionary that's going to be used to hold information regarding the camera brand and the model. And we're going to call that dictionary Camera Model Dict. And we have another dictionary that we're going to be creating that is going to keep track of the camera price. So then what we're going to do is we're going to correlate those two. We're going to using those two dictionaries so that we can extract information from each one and try to see if we can create a total inventory worth of a collection of cameras. Now, the cameras that you're going to see in the camera model, the file camera model.csv is just a collection of random cameras, and the camera price data file is going to have the actual camera model and their associated price in one file. All right. So that's the strategy. We're going to try to create a total inventory cost of all the cameras that are in that camera model dictionary. But because the camera model dictionary only has the brand and the model with no pricing information, and because the camera price dictionary only has the model and the price, we'll have to see how we can correlate those two together so we can get something that's workable. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to PyCharm, and what I've done already is I've created the structure for what we're going to be doing. We're going to be calling this program Dictionary Demo, and I actually have my source code screen ready to type, but I also wanted to show you what the CSV files look like, and you notice that I have them open on the screen. The camera model.csv file, notice that it's got two fields. We have the brand, and then we have the model. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 particular cameras, and they're brand and their associated model numbers. Now, each of these cameras contain have are worth a certain amount of money. So what I found was there was an inventory that I found online that talked about camera prices, and they associated the actual model number. I don't know why somebody would have put this together, but it was fortunate that I was able to find it. That I was able to strip off some other information that I really didn't need, and all I needed from this particular database was the model and the price. All right, so you'll notice that the models are unique, right? So you don't see a duplicate anywhere of these models. So the model D800 has a cost associated with it of $2,900 or $29.99. The EOS 1D is $54.99, and so on. So there is a connection. If you notice that the Nikon, the model that I wanted to get information on is the D810, and you notice that the D810 is showing up, and so we have a price here of $29.99. These just happen to be the two databases that I found, and they're going to be perfect for what we have to do in terms of creating our program. Okay, so let's get started. I'm actually going to create a function-based solution. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is creating a custom function to create the dictionary for the camera. And I did say in my my presentation that I want to create a camera dictionary or camera model dictionary called camera model dict, and then we have the this is going to be the name given for the dictionary for the camera price. So you're going to see some of that information in our Python code. But one of the things that I wanted to share with you as we go through this development process, just like when we passed values by variable to functions, dictionaries, the names of dictionaries should also have unique names when we get into the function, when we pass them as parameters as well as attributes. So when we get into the Python code, you'll see some, we're going to be calling the dictionary files in function main, these two names. But when we get into the function itself, you may see a slightly different name as far as the dictionaries are concerned. Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to start our definition for our creation of the camera dictionary. I'm going to call it create camera dictionary. And one of the first things I want to do is I want to declare some variables. So one of the first ones I'm going to do is declare a dictionary variable. And if you recall from the information in the lesson, the way that the symbols that are associated with dictionaries are the curly braces. And if you recall from the lists are the square brackets. Functions are the open and closed parentheses. That's also used for tuples. But as far as dictionary symbology, it's the open and closed curly brace. Okay. It may be located in a different spot depending on the machine that you have, but I'm using a PC, and the curly braces are the symbols that are directly above the square brackets. I activate the curly braces by holding the shift key, and the left curly brace is activated by pressing the left square bracket, and the right curly brace is activated by as a shift function for the right curly brace. So the next thing that I want to do is I'm actually going to have a couple of other variables that I'm going to use. I'm going to have a variable called brand. So we'll be going with this. And then I'm going to have another variable called model, both strings. And the very next thing I'm going to do is, since I want to build my dictionary from a data file, I'm going to have to create a file object name to associate with the file that has the information for the camera model. So according to the presentation file that I have here, it says that the brand model file is going to have a name of cameramodel.csv. I also have it open here. So it's cameramodel.csv. So I'm going to create a file object of camera object equal to open, and then the file name camera model.csv. And since I'm only going to be pulling information from it to read it, I'm going to set it up in read mode. Okay. Now, that's really it as far as the setup. I mean, as far as opening up the file. So since, let's take a look at the data file. And we're comma delimited. It's a comma separated value file. And you'll notice that each line of the file has two pieces of information. So in the past, when we've done this, when we've extracted information from a CSV file, since the data that we want needs to be split, and we're separating each data value by a comma, you can use the split method that we've used in the past. And remember that at the end of each of the lines, even though you can't see it, there is a new line character, which is going to get us into trouble. So we want to try to get rid of that. Well, not try, we want to get rid of that. All right. So I'm going to set up a loop for line in, and we have to look for the, the file object name, which is camera object. Now, I've noticed that in some of your code, you're actually declaring a new variable when you strip off, use the strip method to pull off the new line character. You really don't have to generate a new variable. So when I execute this loop, it's going to pull line by line, first Nikon and then a D810, and then Canon EOS 1D, and then a Minolta Maxim 9, and then a Leica S2, and then a Sony Alpha A7. So what I want to do is each line is going to be the information that I need, but I want to strip off that character. So what I can do is this: line equals line.strip, and I want to remove the new line character. Okay, so what this actually does, it looks almost like it's a convoluted reference, but what this will actually do when Python sees this line, the code in line 11, it temporarily suspends execution of the line. It processes what's on the right-hand side of the assignment operator, does its work, and then assigns the result to what's on the left-hand side of the assignment operator. So what will happen is Python will get to line 11 of the code. It'll temporarily suspend operation. It'll process what's in the line, remove the new line character, and then take that stripped off piece and assign it back to line. So line actually has what we need. All right. Now that we have a clean line of data, we're going to split it. So we're going to have brand, model, and we've done this before. So we're going to split it. And then we're going to use the comma because we have a comma delimited value, and we're going to split it at the comma, and that's it. All right. Now comes the fun part. Now that we actually have two pieces of information right from that line, by executing line 13 with the split method, what we've in essence done, let's use line 1 as a reference. In essence, what we've done is we've taken Nikon and assigned it to the variable brand. We take the information D810 and we assign it to the variable model using the split method. All right. Now that we have those two pieces, we can start building our library. Now, according to what we have here, the variable that we're going to be using for the dictionary that's going to hold that information is datadict, and it's considered a dictionary. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say data, CT, square bracket, brand, that's our key, equals model. Now, it's very important you understand this because if you don't get this right, the dictionary is going to be corrupt. All right. So the way that this works is that the syntax of Python is saying that the dictionary that's been declared is we've declared it as empty. The next thing we're going to do is what's in the square brackets is telling Python that the information in that square bracket is going to be the actual key. So we have a new key being entered into the dictionary, and the dictionary entry, whatever that brand is going to have associated with it a value. And in this particular case, the value data is held in the variable model. Okay, so when we run this in debug, I'll show you how the dictionary is going to be built. And from the information from the lesson regarding related to dictionaries, you'll begin to see a pattern beginning to develop. The information that I provided in the lesson for dictionaries shows you what the data is going to look like, the keys and the values in a dictionary, and you'll see it building right in here when I use the debug feature of Pycharm. Okay, so now that I've got the Python is going to be taking line by line from this this data file, brand model, brand model, brand model, brand model, and in essence, let me use Python language: key, value, key, value, key, value. And notice there's no double or duplicate keys in this data file. Okay, that should make sense based on what we spoke about at the beginning of the video. So now that we've actually gone through the loop of actually pulling all the information from the data file, we've put it into a dictionary, we're done, right? So at this point, all we need to do now is, since we opened up the data file, we're going to close the data file. And at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to return the dictionary that we created back to the calling routine. So in this case, we're going to be sending it back to function main. Okay, so that's it. I mean, that's as far as creating a dictionary, and that's how we would create a dictionary from a data file. All right, so just as a recap, once we come into the custom function, we called it create cam dictionary. We initialized 3 variables. One was a dictionary and 2 just straight variables with string, a null string. Then we opened up the data file, camera model.csv for read mode or reading only. And then we used the loop to try to pull each line from the data file, split it, and then place the information by key and value into the dictionary. Close the data file, return the dictionary to the calling routine. So let's build our calling routine. It's going to be very simple. Let's do a define main. And in our main function, we have to create a dictionary file. So I'm going to call it camera model, DICT equals open and close curly brace. Now, if you're wondering where I got this name from, if you recall from the presentation earlier, we said we're going to create 2 dictionaries to correlate the camera model with the camera price. The data file that we have is the camera model.csv, which only has brand and model. The camera price.csv has model and price. We stated that we're going to be calling the dictionaries these 2 names, and that's what I'm building right now in Python. So, very next thing we're going to do as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do a brand equal to, let's assign a null string to the variable brand. I think that's really all that we need. Actually, you know what? Let's do something else. Camera model equal to null string, and that's really, I think, all that I need, because I'm going to be pulling the information using the dictionary to get that information. So let's go ahead and let's start doing what we need to do. So now that we've initialized all our variables, the very first thing that we're going to do is we need the dictionary that's been created in create cam dictionary. We need that dictionary in function main, right? So if we're returning a dictionary, I think it should make logical sense that we need to have a variable here to accept the dictionary in function main, all right? And since we're passing a dictionary back to function main, we should have a dictionary to accept it. And we do. It's called camera model EICT. It's equal to create cam dictionary. And we're not passing any values to the function, so it's going to be, there's not going to be any parameters that we're going to be sending in, so you're going to have an open close parentheses. If we were passing values into the custom function, those parameters would appear between the parentheses. Okay? All right. Once we get the dictionary from the create cam dictionary function, we've got a working dictionary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the user to enter the brand name of a camera to search for. And since I declared a variable called brand, I think I'll use that variable. So brand equals input. Please enter model of camera to search for. Okay. Now, I'm going to do this without any type of error checking. But then once we get the code working, I am going to show you something that's going to happen if for some reason the user types in a brand that does not exist. We'll have to take a look and see how Python handles that. Okay, so let's go through and see what we got. Okay, so create cam dictionary. So brand, we have our brand. So camera, camera model equal to, now this is where we can actually tell Python, I want you to take the brand and I want you to take a look and search that dictionary to find out if that dictionary has the brand that we're searching for. Now I'm noticing something, there's an error here. If you'll notice, there is a red line notification in PyCharm, and it's telling me, if I don't know if you've seen this before, if you hover over the red squiggly line, PyCharm will actually tell you some information about what the problem is. Do you see what the problem is? I hope you can. It says unresolved reference, create cam dictionary. We've got a problem, and that's because I didn't spell dictionary correctly. I think in speaking, notice it's resolved now. I guess I can't type and speak at the same time. So that little red squiggly line is PyCharm's way of trying to tell you, don't bother executing because this is not going to work. So, okay, I'm glad we got that resolved before we started. Okay, so the way that we tell Python that we have data that's going to be used to search in the dictionary is we have a new method that we're going to make use of, and it's called the get method. Okay, so the dictionary that contains all the data we want to search for, can you tell me which it is? Is it datadic. The dictionary that's up in this function, or is it the dictionary that's down in the main function? I'm hoping that you're saying the dictionary in the main function, because the information that was found in this custom function was passed as a return back from the custom function. So we're going to be doing camera mode, no, camera model, dict, And then we have get, and we're going to pass to it the brand. Okay? So what we're doing here is we're taking the dictionary that was used to accept the data from the custom function. We're using the get method, passing to the dictionary the brand, which is what the user entered as an input. We're going to query the dictionary, and if a match is found, we're going to pass the associated value to the variable camera model. So brand is going to be searching the keys. If a key is found with the right brand, the system is going to return the value associated with that key in the dictionary to camera model. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so this is the simple part. We're going to just print for the camera brand brand. There is a camera model in inventory. So that's it. So what's going to happen is if the brand that the user enters is passed to the dictionary, it's going to be checking the keys. This get method is going to check for the presence of the key with the name brand. And if it finds it, it's going to return the value associated with that key to camera model. That's why in this print statement, you'll see that we can actually put those two pieces in. If for some reason we put in, we're going to try this. If we put Nikon, what should come back is DA10. If we put in Olympus, the OMD M1 should come back. All right. So this is not something that you have to do. As a matter of fact, when we get into, when I explain the custom function, you don't have to put a return if you're not planning on returning anything back. I just put it for consistency. Since there are two functions in this program, one is called create cam dictionary, and the other is a function called main. They're both functions, so I just, out of habit, put return. So let's see if this program works. And before we do that, I'm going to run it in debug so I can show you that the dictionary is beginning to build. Okay, so let's get started. Running it in debug is probably a really good idea when you're running your code for the first time to make sure that things are working okay. And the way that you get to debug is when you click on run, choose debug, and I'm going to choose my program. The output looks a little bit different the first time around, but I'm already starting to run. So when I started to run the program, I initialized 3 variables. I said to go into create cam, and it's going in for the first time. Now, one of the first thing that it did, it went into the function, declared 3 variables. One is a dictionary. It opened up a data file, which is this file right here. And then what I did was for a line in camera object, which is our file object name associated with the data file, we stripped off the new line character. We split the 2 pieces of information on the line, and it should make logical sense why line is equal to Nikon DA10. Notice that we split it already into Nikon for the brand and DA10 for the model. Now, if this works, I want you to pay particular attention to the dictionary variable data_dict. What we have here is for this particular dictionary, the dictionary is now showing empty. We're going to single step into this particular line of code, And you'll see now that what just happened was we have the first entry into the dictionary. It's noticing that it's actually saying and it's displaying it as a dictionary. You'll notice that the first field in the dictionary, which in the notes related to the lesson, it showed that the first field in the dictionary entry is going to be the key, and then we have a colon, followed by the value. So this is our first entry into the dictionary. I'm going to single step again, and I just pull the next line. So the line has Canon EOS 1D. I'm going to take a look at the data file, Canon EOS 1D. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it. Now it still has Nikon and D810, but I haven't executed the split yet. So let me split it. Now notice that it's got Canon in the brand, the EOS 1D for the model. The brand is going to be the key. The EOS 1D is going to be the value. Now when I execute the assignment to the dictionary, it now entered the Canon as the key, EOS 1D as the value. I'm going to go through this a little bit faster so you can see it working and building. Pay particular attention to what we have here in the dictionary assignment. So I have a few more to go. I think I have, let me see, it's got the Olympus. I think I have one or two more. Yep, that's it. Okay, so now that I'm done with my data, it's going to jump out of the loop, which makes sense. I'm going to close my data file. Now, if you take a look at my data, it's going to go from Nikon all the way to the UX 100, from the Nikon all the way down to the UX 100, which means I pulled all the data. I'm going to return the actual dictionary back to the calling routine. So I'm going to put a breakpoint right there so you can see it happening. I'm going to single step. Okay, so I just left the create cam dictionary custom function. I'm now back in function main. This should make sense to you because I have 3 variables declared in function main. Remember, when you go into another function, the information is actually placed onto a stack. It's actually placed on a temporary hold. You work in your function and then you return, and the values are brought back. All right. So at this point, my dictionary that I'm going to be using for the data in function main is currently empty because I haven't pulled that information in yet. But here we go. Boom. Did it. It actually transferred all the information from our custom function back to function main. And now I have a dictionary that I could use in function main to do whatever I want. Here's all the information that I've got. The first piece of this duet is the key, value, Minolta, key, Maxim 9, value. Leica is a key, S2 is the value. Sony is a key, Alpha A7 is the value. Olympus is the key, OMD-M1 is the value, and so on. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to single step and get the brand from the user. Now, it's asking me, notice what I'm doing here is that I'm actually switching between debugger and console. Debugger, which gives me all the values of variables, to console. This is what you would typically see when you're running a program. Enter the model of the camera you're trying to search for. Now, let's just pick one. Let's take a look at the model. Let's put the Leica in. I'll put the Leica as a key. Let's go back here. And Leica. And we'll press enter. Now, the first time you actually go to an input when you're running it in debug, there is a program that's also running here, which has to run completely in order to process that input. My suggestion would be that it looks like it's just stuck. This little green right arrow with a little tail, you want to click on that, and it actually goes through and moves through the input processing. And the program is basically finished. It says that the camera brand Leica, there is a S2 in inventory. So it worked, all right? Now, it looked like it went fast because I didn't put a breakpoint Matter of fact, I'll put a breakpoint. Let me put a breakpoint. Now that we know that the dictionary is actually working and being transferred back, I'm going to put a breakpoint in 2 new locations and run this again. Notice a couple things we can do. Notice the extra space between brand and Leica and the comma. And there's a bit of a space between the comma and the there, and A and S2 and S2 and in. There's too much space. Remember how to fix that? I hope you do. Here, we're going to override the default separation of one space. So I'm going to say, and if you notice that it's telling us we have some pieces that we can do here. So I'm going to put sep equals quote quote. That should get rid of that space. Let's see what it looks like. So let me run it again in debug. When you're running it in debug, the first time you have to choose run and debug. But the second time around, you notice a little bug here. If you click on that, it actually starts running it. I'm going to go to my console. Actually, you know what? I can get rid of this breakpoint inside this custom function because we know that the dictionary is being built correctly. So I'm going to stop it and run it again. All I care about is right down here. What value is being returned? So let me run it and let's see what happens. Okay. So as of right now, the system is waiting for input. So I'm going to put Leica in again. I'm going to press enter, and the system is now waiting at line 32 for us to do something. This should make sense. This is the dictionary that was created in the custom function above. Brand is Leica. The model is not known yet. We're trying to find out if that model exists inside the dictionary. So we're going to pass Leica in as a key value. I'm sorry, not as a key value. Yeah, as a key value. And if it exists, which we know it does, it's right there, Leica and S2. It should return S2. So let's single step. And when we do that, you'll see that camera model all of a sudden begins to take on a new value. It should take on S2. And there it is. It searched, Python searched the dictionary and found that there is a Leica presence as a key, and it returned the value associated with Leica, which is S2. I'm going to go back to my console so you can see. I'm going to go ahead and single step. And now we have a really cleanly formatted output line. For the camera band Leica, there is it should be an, we can do that, we can modify that, an S2 in inventory. Okay, so we're done with our code. So I'm going to go ahead and single step so it's done, and we're done. When you get a exit code 0, that Python, that's Python's way of actually telling you that everything worked fine. There's no errors or concerns or issues. In this case, 0 is a good thing. So there you have it. I actually created a custom function that was able to develop a dictionary. The dictionary is a set of unique values, and those values or the individual unique entries in the dictionary. It's a 2-part system where you have a key, which must be unique, and then we have an associated value associated with that particular key. We created our own special dictionary in a custom function. We return that dictionary to the calling routine. In this case, it was function main. Then when we call that function, we created the dictionary and returned the dictionary to a dictionary variable in function main. We asked the user in this case for information to search for. In Pythonese, we were asking the user for a key to use to search in the dictionary. In this case, the key was going to be the brand. We passed the brand in using the get method associated with the dictionary. And then if the brand was found, the value associated with that brand or key is going to be passed back to camera model, and then we can output and we can do whatever we want with it. Now, one of the things that I did want to show you before I close, what happens if I tried to put some sort of data in when it ran and there was no camera brand by that name? Okay, so let's run the program this time because we know it works. let's run the program and watch what happens if I try to put in something. We notice that we have Nikon, Canon, Minolta, Leica, Sony, Olympus, Fujifilm, and Photon. I'm going to put a camera called Polaroid. Now, you probably remember, if you don't, several years ago in the 50s, a company called Polaroid came out with a camera that allowed instant photos to be created. You take a photograph, you pull the photograph film out of the camera, you wait about 3 to 5 minutes, and then you would peel um, the picture from the chemicals that were used to develop the photo, and you had an instant photo. You didn't have to wait for a developing studio to develop the photos. So I'm going to put that camera model in here, Polaroid. We know that we don't have a Polaroid brand in our list of camera models. So let's see what Python does when you enter a brand or a key that does not exist in the dictionary. I'm going to press the Enter key, and let's see what happens. For the camera brand Polaroid, there is a none in inventory. Now that's very important that you know. When you search a dictionary for a key that does not exist, the return value is referred to as none. It doesn't have a numerical type. It's just none. And so we could use that information so we can output the appropriate message should that situation occur. So what we're getting back, what's happening here, which says none, it's the camera model that is getting back none from that search. So I can use some decision logic. So if camera model is equal to none, print no such brand is in the inventory. How's that? So, okay. And then else, I'm going to do that. Okay. So before I close the video, let's see if this works. Make sure it's no problem, because I don't want to introduce a problem before we get to the next video. So enter the name of the camera. I'm going to choose Polaroid again. Polaroid, press enter, and no such brand is in the inventory. That's great. Problem solved. So we did quite a bit. I'd like you to review this video, if you have to, a couple of times, 2-3 times, so you can get comfortable with how to create a dictionary. What you're going to be doing in Lab Activity 11 and Programming Assignment number 4, and even part of Programming Assignment number 3, is best used with dictionaries. There may be a requirement, particularly in Lab Activity number 4, that there is a dictionary that's going to be required, at least the use of 2 dictionaries. And you need to make sure that those dictionaries are created correctly, because if they're not, then the rest of your logic is not going to work. So when we come back in our next video, I'll show you how to continue working with this project so we can create the correlation between camera brand and price in dealing with our project.